Now let's get to why you're in Seattle for the NHL BOG. Why are you in Seattle? What can we expect from these meetings? What's so important that you had to fly all the way out to be there?
Well, I mean, this is the meeting where literally they could come out today and say we're expanding. That I don't know how many years ago that was, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I was at one of these meetings. There was no buzz heading in, and literally Gary Bettman calls. I don't know. There's maybe 10 of us there, reporters. Calls us into this room, and he's like, "We're expanding to Vegas. They're starting a ticket drive. Like this is the most powerful people in the sport, and they can make big unilateral decisions or multilateral, I guess, because they all have to there has to be a certain quorum among the owners. But I mean, this is where big changes can happen. I think it's interesting that we're in Seattle. The Kraken ownership group actually requested to have the meeting in their own city. They wanted to be able to show the other NHL owners around town, I guess, so to speak, to show off, their city, the newest franchise in the league right now. And so, typically these are held at in sunny locales like Florida or California, but here we are, and I'm not complaining because I mean, let's face it, I'm living in a hotel either
Beautiful
way.
city.
Like, right, for sure. And I should say though, like that, what this covering this meeting entails is literally standing around a hotel lobby, corralling the people as they walk by. So I could be in the best climate or the worst climate, and as long as the hotel itself has, what I mean, um, that's all I'm seeing anyway. But yeah, so we're here for that, and I don't know that there's any big news plan, but I would say the fun of this event is the unknown, is that possibility. I mean, I it seems to me that the commissioner Gary Bettman's been pretty open about talking about the subject of expansion broadly, like in his more recent availabilities. But it doesn't sound to me like it's coming right now. But it's clearly on their minds to some degree. Bettman has said, a lot of that's because they've got cities and potential owners coming to them and saying, "Hey, what about us? Is there anything to be done here?" And so I think that they have some of those relationships cooking under the surface, which is maybe making it more appealing. I think the fact that franchise values have gone pretty starkly up and to the right in terms of the value going up, it becomes more appealing. And so we've got all kinds of situations in the league. We've got, what are they going to do with the draft? Is, maybe mandatory neck guards or protection? Is that going to be discussed here? Obviously, with the Adam Johnston tragedy in Britain, I think there might still be some fallout from the Corey Perry situation to be discussed. One thing I'll be curious to see is, does he need to speak to the commissioner before potentially returning with another team? Not to say that's where his head's at, based on the statement he put out, it seems very much like he's not at the spot where he wants to play right now anyway. But, I think that'll be discussed. And then the expansion issue, I just think is always kind of an interesting one, because that it seems crazy that we're already, the NBA is still at 30 teams. I'm sitting in Seattle. I know the NBA it seems like is going to come back to this city at some point in time. But maybe the NHL will push forward and add even more teams before the other leagues are doing that.
Atlanta, Houston, Salt Lake City. There's a couple different US options for them.
Yeah, did you see Salt Lake? It looks like they're going to get a Winter Olympics
I had heard
again.
about that in passing.
Yeah, there was a headline. There was a meeting, I think, somewhere in Europe over the weekend, and it sounds like they're tabbed for the 2034 Olympics, which sounds really far away, but it's only a couple Winter Olympic cycles down the road, and it's hard not to connect dots with the fact you have a very wealthy person there trying, with an interest in the NHL, an open interest. They're I would assume going to have to build a venue to have the Winter Olympics in that city. You just wonder if that could all be tied together somewhere down the road. Again, not anything I would expect to be resolved or announced during these meetings, but you can start to see where the situation that might lead a team there is. And look, I mean, no one wants to hear about this anymore because it has been discussed ad nauseum for 15 years. But we are sitting here right now where the Arizona Coyotes are still playing out of a college rink, and they're trying to secure plans to build their own NHL size arena. And the expectation was that would be finalized, like those plans, somewhere in the new year. And that if they weren't, I think we're starting to get into contingencies like, could they be moved? Is there other cities out there? Obviously, Salt Lake has been mentioned as a possibility for that. Should the Coyotes have to be moved? And so, you know, I know that the amount of talk about a Coyotes arena, probably everyone's ears turn off. but that is actually something that has to be resolved in the near future. And so hopefully we'll get some clarity there. The other thing I should mention too is this is usually where we get a clear idea of the salary cap for
Mhm.
next season. Basically, they've got the first quarter of the season's revenue data in the books now and can, I think, project where they're going. And that's something that the hockey people at this meeting. I mean, obviously, a lot of business people from organizations are here, but any hockey people usually want to hear that because it affects some of the decisions they're contemplating with players.
All right. That is a lot that could happen on the docket. I love the idea of you being in the unknown for the BOG, but we'll be there to talk about it on Thursday if anything crazy arises. So enjoy your time in Seattle as long as you have to be there. You're gonna be there the whole week?
No, I'm flying back Wednesday, so it's a pretty
Okay.
quick trip. Um, and it's only my second time here. I've actually never been for a Kraken game yet, and I'm
Me
not going to
neither.
see one. Unfortunately, the Kraken are on the road this week. That was the only kind of weird thing. I was like, if you're bringing it here, why wouldn't you have it lined up with a game? You could have had all the owners at a game in a suite or something. But anyway, easier for me to sit there and second guess that. But I'm not going to get into Climate Pledge Arena this time, but I will be back at some point.